All right, let's dive into a really powerful and honestly a kind of dangerous idea from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. It's a concept that gets you thinking, what if the real source of greatness isn't about moving forward, but about tapping into something ancient, something primal that's buried deep inside us?
So let's start with a feeling. You know that feeling of being completely out of step with the world around you? Almost like you're a ghost from another time just walking through these modern streets. No, seriously, think about it. Have you ever felt like your core instincts, your deep down drives, your passions, they're just clashing with the calm, ordered, maybe even predictable rhythm of modern life? Well, Nietzsche actually had a name for that exact feeling. He called it atavism. It's this idea that traits from a way older, maybe wilder era of humanity can just pop back up in someone today. It's basically an echo of the past, living and breathing right here in the present. And this is where things get complicated. Because these ancient drives, they don't just hang out in a vacuum. Nope, they exist in our world, the modern world. And a lot of the time, the two are in a head-on collision.
See, for Nietzsche, the person with this atavistic spirit, they just don't fit in. They feel this powerful internal pull towards things that our society has spent centuries trying to tame or domesticate or get rid of altogether.
And this right here, this lays out the battle perfectly. On one side, you have these atavistic forces, that restless drive for power, a fiery, passionate spirit, things Nietzsche linked to an older, more aristocratic time. And on the other side, modern values, passive instincts, what he called a herd-like mentality, and these really domesticated drives. It is a total collision course.
So what happens when these two forces are at war inside a single person? According to Nietzsche, it leads to a critical, absolutely unavoidable choice. And believe me, there is no middle ground.
And we're not talking about a casual decision here. This is a fundamental crisis of your entire being. You can't just ignore these powerful inner forces. They demand to be dealt with. And the path forward? It splits, and it splits dramatically.
Nietzsche basically gives you a stark ultimatum. Path 1, you consciously choose to cultivate these forces, to lean into them. Or path 2, you fail to master them, and they literally tear you apart from the inside, leading to a total breakdown.
Now, the commitment you need for that first path is just immense. In Nietzsche's own words, the person must foster, honor, and rear them to maturity. This isn't about just letting your wildest impulses run free. Not at all. It's about taking that raw energy and deliberately shaping it into something powerful, something refined.
And the outcome of this choice? Well, the stakes could not possibly be higher. We're talking about the razor's edge that separates the most extraordinary achievement from complete and utter collapse.
So look at this. On one hand, you've got outcome 1, the great man. This is the person who succeeds, who refines and masters their primitive drives, and achieves a truly rare kind of greatness. But on the other hand, outcome 2, the deranged person. This is the one who just can't integrate these forces. They become eccentric, or worse, they suffer a complete mental breakdown. Genius or madness, those are your options.
So why does this even happen? Why does evolution seem to throw these wild cards into the deck? Well, Nietzsche had a really fascinating take on it.
You know, we tend to think of evolution as the simple, straight line, always marching forward, always getting better. But for Nietzsche, it was something way more complex and way more interesting than that. It doesn't just toss out the old to make way for the new.
In fact, evolution is doing two things at once. It's conserving these older traits, but it's also inventing new possibilities. So atavism, in this view, isn't some mistake or a step backward. It's a reservoir of raw, vital energy that can actually shake up a culture that's become stagnant. It can even provide this stabilizing, slower rhythm, what Nietzsche called an andante tempo, that acts as an anchor against the empty, frantic pace of so-called modern progress.
And this right here, this brings us to the absolute core of Nietzsche's idea, the big takeaway that ties it all together. If atavism holds the key to greatness, well, that means greatness itself is profoundly dangerous. The risk of genius is that its very source is unstable, it's primal, it's threatening. This is not a safe or comfortable path. It's a walk along a cliff's edge. And here's why. To be great, in Nietzsche's view, means you have to nurture the exact same qualities that society has worked so hard to suppress. That drive for power, that passionate spirit. In doing that, you risk being seen as a threat, as evil, or you risk losing your own mind in the process.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What are the ancient, atavistic parts of ourselves that we've all been taught to ignore or push down? And maybe more importantly, what incredible potential for greatness, for real vitality, do we lose when we just choose the safe path and let those parts lie dormant?